welcome to an India Today special broadcast that comes to you from the Tarasha Shevchenkov University here in Kyiv, Ukraine. I'm Gaurav Sawant. The stage is set for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival to Ukraine, and this is the first time that an Indian Prime Minister will be visiting Ukraine, and that too in midst of war between Russia and Ukraine, a war that's now in a very intense stage, with Ukraine mounting a very audacious counterattack and taking control of parts of Kursk territory of Russia. But the Prime Minister is likely to set the stage for perhaps peace, perhaps ceasefire or negotiation. The Prime Minister will fly to Poland. He'll spend 2 days, the 21st and the 22nd, in Poland, and then on the 23rd he will be here in Ukraine. But the Poland leg is equally important. The first time that an Indian Prime Minister visits Poland in over 4 decades. A relationship that's been extremely warm between the two countries, but the world is focused on the Prime Minister's visit to Ukraine a month plus after he was in Russia on the 8th of July. And that's where a terrible attack took place at a multi-speciality hospital here in Kyiv. I visited that hospital and we'll get you a report from that hospital. But before that, I want to get you a broad overview of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit, the expectations. I spoke to Ukraine's former foreign minister, Pavlo Klimkin, and he said that this visit promises to be a game changer. It has all the markings of a great visit. The Prime Minister has done a lot for India. It's time for him to do more on the world stage, he said. Listen in.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to make a historic visit to Ukraine on August 23rd. A move that comes just weeks after his trip to Moscow. This will be the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Ukraine since the start of the ongoing conflict with Russia, and the first such visit in over 30 years.
It's important now that the Prime Minister coming here, talking to us, showing his support, and started really playing global, because he has a lot of impact. We clearly recall his words. It's not time for war. It was really important. Now it's about next steps. And let's discuss these next steps in a couple of days on the 23rd. And it's also symbolic.
Zelenskyy has previously welcomed dialogue and negotiations as crucial elements for resolving the conflict. And Modi's visit is seen as a significant diplomatic gesture amidst the current turbulence. India has emphasized that Modi's trip will also review the broader scope of bilateral relations, including cooperation in agriculture, defense, pharmaceuticals, and humanitarian aid.
We have this unique experience, and you need it. With your sense of security, with your sense of security requirements, you need us, you need our experience, and we need you. And it's not just about ship engines, it's not just about planes, it's about the future. It's about drones.
Modi's earlier trip to Moscow drew criticism, particularly from Western allies, due to its timing amidst a major missile attack on Ukrainian targets. India's relations with both Russia and Ukraine are substantive and independent. The visit is part of our ongoing effort to engage with all stakeholders in the conflict and promote dialogue as the path to lasting peace. With Gaurav Sawant in Kyiv, Ukraine, Bureau Report, India Today.
So Ukraine does want peace, but it wants just and fair peace. It does not want peace at Russia's terms. That people here are very clear about. But what about the Indian community? Several Indians have been here for over 3 decades, and they identify as much, if not more, with Ukraine than even India. And they say that the Prime Minister's visit will bring about a positive change, because Ukraine requires not just peace and prosperity. Ukraine now requires a lot of reconstruction, and that is where India can play a much bigger role. the hearts of the people of India and Ukraine are together. Now it's for the minds to come together, the meeting of the minds, the meeting of hearts, so that Ukraine can be rebuilt with a lot of support from India. Of course, this is a relationship that's a win-win for both, a lot for India to gain from, and a lot that Ukraine can gain from India. Listen in. The stage is set for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival here in Ukraine. The first ever by an Indian Prime Minister, and that too in midst of war. Ukraine has been battling the Russian war for the past 900 days and counting, and in midst of this, Ukraine has actually mounted a very audacious counter-attack in the Kursk region. And with me are members of the Indian community to talk about how Indian community here in Ukraine is looking at the Prime Minister's visit. I want to begin by introducing Professor Mridula Ghosh. Professor Mridula Ghosh is a professor of international relations here at the Kyiv Mohila Academy, one of the oldest universities here in Kyiv. Also with me is Dr. Alok Bansal. Dr. Alok Bansal is a very well-respected orthopedic surgeon here in Ukraine. Ravi Singla is in the pharma business here. Pharma is something that India is actually trying to encourage here. Amit Mishra is a part of the agro industry here in Ukraine. Ram Dange, prominent member of the Indian community, also into food packaging. And of course, Mr. Kuldeep Kumar is a very well-known face in Ukraine. He's in construction business, he's in the restaurant and resort business, and one of the most prominent Indians here in Ukraine. Welcome on India Today to all our guests. And I want to begin by asking you your expectations of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit.
Well, I am going to be overwhelming. I think it will be an overwhelming thing for the Ukrainians. They view it as a visit of goodwill, as a visit that will definitely try to seek some peace for this country, as Prime Minister has been very, very vocal about the inadmissibility of the war. And I believe that, we Indians are looking forward to meeting him.
The Indian community looking forward to it, as is the Ukrainian community. And doctors heal without any barriers. You had before the war started about 18,000 Indian students studying medicine here. The numbers, of course, have dwindled quite a bit. But what's the current situation, and how are doctors looking at this?
Yeah, it's totally a different situation during this war. So what we people are doing, orthopedic surgeons, is totally different field now. So myself, I'm an orthopedic surgeon who is working in replacement department, replacements and arthroscopies. Right now, due to this war, we have a lot of war trauma. Our army soldiers are suffering due to this war. They are having severe bad injuries, and it's totally a different field, new field for us. So I've gone for different courses from Switzerland to treat our patients, the army patients, the brave soldiers who are protecting us in this country during this toughest war in the history of this world.
No, this is brilliant, because I'm also told that the Jaipur Foot, a lot of people are showing keen interest, including the army here in the Jaipur Foot, and we'll talk about that in greater detail. Mr. Singla, as far as pharma is concerned, a lot of effort is being made to ensure that business, it picks up even more, especially in a conflict-hit area. How is pharma looking at the Prime Minister's visit?
No, pharma, we are looking we are quite optimistic about bilateral relations. Although, Indian pharma products are very popular here in Ukraine, and now these days we are trying in this difficult times, that there is no shortage of pharmaceutical goods. And with the arrival of Prime Minister, it will give boost to our bilateral relations. It will increase, between individual to individual relations also. Okay. And it is great. We are quite enthusiastic about Prime Minister's visit.
That's heartening to hear. Mr. Mishra, as far as agriculture is one area, it's not just about the sale of tractors, or manufacturing. How is the agro industry looking at the Prime Minister's visit and the bilateral relationship?
Hopefully, all the relationship, because of Mr. Narendra Modi is coming, I think the relationship will be better. Maybe we'll get the more permission. We will get the permission to export our commodities from Ukraine to another different countries. Right now, this is the biggest problem in Ukraine. We are having problem to export the commodities from Ukraine. We are exporting everything by trucks, by trains. Hopefully there will be some understanding after visit of Modi ji, and we will be able to export all commodities through Odisha ports. I think so. There will be a solution after this meeting.
Oh, that's heartening to hear. Will there be a solution? Are we looking at the immediate? When you talk about packaging and food processing, Ukraine is known as the breadbasket of Europe. How are we moving forward in that direction through this visit?
There will be certainly changes, and the change will take certain time. But overall, business relationship in between our two countries will have a boost after Modi ji's visit. हम लोगों को, यहाँ के लोगों को बड़ी राहत है, बड़ा उत्साह है, आनंद है, क्योंकि मोदी जी ने इसके पहले दिस इज नॉट द एरा ऑफ वार ताशकंद में कहा था. उसके बाद में भी मोदी जी ने जब मॉस्को में थे, तो जब बच्चों के ऊपर अटैक होता है तो मोदी जी ने बड़ा दुख दिखाया था इस बात के ऊपर. आज वो सब शब्द अभी तक जब मोदी जी ने कहे हैं, उन सब की एक यहाँ पर
ठीक आपको उम्मीद है. कुलदीप जी, हाउ वुड यू लुक एट प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी's visit, especially when the diaspora is coming up in big numbers, and how is Ukraine reacting to this?
मुझे तो लगता है मोदी जी के आने के बाद शायद इतिहास लिखा जाएगा. वैसे भी जो विजिट है इनकी एक ऐतिहासिक विजिट है. 33 सालों में कोई पहला प्राइम मिनिस्टर जो है हिंदुस्तान से यहाँ पर आ रहा है, और मुझे लगता है शायद ये जो लोग भी सोचते हैं यहाँ के यूक्रेनियन की मोदी जी आ रहे हैं, क्योंकि मोदी जी का नाम है इससे वे पूरी दुनिया में एक गद्दावर नेता हैं वो. मुझे लगता है सब लोग जैसे बोलते हैं यूक्रेनियन, मैं अपनी इंडियंस को नहीं कह रहा हूँ, यूक्रेनियन लोग बोलते हैं कि मोदी जी के आने के बाद युद्ध पे विराम लगेगा. शायद मुझे लगता है मोदी जी के हाथों से ये काम होना है, और ये एक इतिहास बनेगा कि इंडिया से प्राइम मिनिस्टर आए मोदी जी और उन्होंने युद्ध पर विराम लगवा दिया, जो कि पिछले कई 900 दिनों से ज्यादा से चल रहा है. तो मुझे उम्मीद है कि ये सब होगा पॉजिटिव.
आपको उम्मीद है पॉजिटिव? आपको लग रहा है?
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल लग रहा है.
As far as the pharma industry is concerned, what is it that Ukraine requires that India must give as quickly as possible? Because I believe a lot of consignments of medicines have come from India.
Yes, government of India has sent many consignments of pharmaceutical aids, but actually frankly speaking we are self-sufficient here. In Indian companies, mainly what happens, a lot of antibiotics are required in these type of situations. Antibiotics, and we Indian companies they are dealing most of the companies are dealing in all type of medicines. So all the Indian companies it is our duty, and we being Indian we feel that हमने इस धरती का नमक खाया है, and now it is our responsibility, and we are doing quite faithfully.
Very positive. यहाँ का नमक खाया है तो यहाँ पर कोऑपरेशन और बढ़ाना भी चाहिए. छात्रों की, we were to talk about students, medical students, number came down from 18,000 to a couple of thousand, but is that increasing once again?
स्टूडेंट के बारे में ज़्यादा इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है, लेकिन कुछ स्टूडेंट्स हैं जो लास्ट कोर्सेज में थे वो वापस आ रहे हैं और अपने कोर्स कंप्लीट कर रहे हैं.
ठीक, तो ये अच्छी बात है. कोऑपरेशन की क्या क्या फील्ड्स हैं जिसको अभी तलाशा जा रहा है? व्हाट आर न्यू एरियाज ऑफ कोऑपरेशन?
The trade turnover between Ukraine and India had been about $3+ billion before the war started, and most of it, the trade turnover was positive for Ukraine. In the military equipments and other things also there is a cooperation. I think that in the process when the Russia is not only the source for Indian military, Ukraine can also give armaments
to India, and that's very, that's true. India has been buying naval warship engines, aircraft engines, and other military hardware from Ukraine. और डिफेंस कोऑपरेशन बढ़ाने की भी बात
चल रही है. जो इनका आगे प्लान्स है, मुझे लगता है कि आगे चल के, पहले तो देखिए यहाँ से यूक्रेन का पाकिस्तान के साथ ज्यादा अच्छे रिलेशंस थे, लेकिन अब मोदी जी आ रहे हैं और हिंदुस्तानियों को यहाँ लोग पसंद करते हैं. मुझे लगता है आने वाला वक्त हिंदुस्तान का होगा, और हम मिलकर बहुत सारे यूक्रेन के साथ मिलकर ऐसे काम करेंगे जो कि आगे चलकर एक तारीख बनेगी.
That's the Indian community. It gives you a rough idea of what the diaspora is thinking. But new areas of cooperation, Professor Saab, since you interact with a lot of people in governments on both sides, your appreciation, what are some of the areas where India and Ukraine can cooperate?
First of all, lots of those areas. First is this defense. I will say that this war has proven the Ukrainians' ability to fight. the tactics of war has changed, and how they are mastering very cheap but drone technology and those things, they are doing without having a sea fleet. They have almost, liquidated the Black Sea fleet. Apart from that, the tactics of warfare is very important, and I think in those areas also there will be some deliberation.
Very, very interesting. Newer areas of
another
cooperation.
Another area is the digital.
Yes.
Ukraine is, because of this, rupture of communication and other things and displacement of people, Ukraine has a lot of these digital possibilities of digital communication and digital infrastructure. So in that we are also very good. So in this area also we can cooperate. I think these two, and of course I would say when let peace come and we can have joint films, this is a beautiful country where they love Indian films and we can have a lot of other things to do, which are very sweet.
On an aside, you're absolutely right, because I believe there are several Indian film stars, producers and directors who've looked at Ukraine as a beautiful part of Europe to shoot their films. But of course, that was before the conflict. Will things change after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit? We'll track that story very, very closely. But hope is in the air. Gaurav Sawant in Kyiv, Ukraine, for India Today. Ukraine is a country of education. The university behind me is one of the most prestigious universities, not just here in Ukraine, but across the world. But apart from the Shevchenko University, there are many, many medical universities here, engineering universities here, not just in Kiev, but also in Kharkiv, in Odessa, in several other parts of Ukraine. And there was a time that you had more than 18,000 Indian medical students studying here. That number since the war has dwindled to under 5,000, and there are apprehensions that in future that number could go down even further. But those who are studying here, they've not even only been through a very grim past since 2022, they're also looking at a very bleak future in case their degrees do not get them good jobs in India despite passing that foreign medical degree examination. And they have a lot of hope from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit. They're looking forward to meeting him. Listen into my conversation with some of these doctors who've either completed their MBBS or are in the final stages of completing their degree. Doctor, tell me your name and tell me how's your education coming along just now?
Hello, I'm Dr. Jivita, and my education is, due to war, we thought it would stop, but we didn't have any choice. So we came here again to complete the degree that we started. So my degree is completed, and now we are overstaying here for compensation, like to compensate the classes that we missed. So I'll be going by the end of this month. So now I'm compensating the classes.
You're doing your compensatory classes, but are you living in an atmosphere of fear? Are Indian students here living in an atmosphere of fear?
Yes, we are living in an atmosphere of fear. Like as you've seen behind this hospital, it was bombarded a few days ago. It's the biggest children's hospital, and it was bombarded. And I stay somewhere near the radius of this hospital. So we are staying in fear, but it's natural for us nowadays. Like we go back to shelter, and if the siren is off, we come back to our home.
You've completed your medicine, but doctor, you're in your final year. Your education is still underway. Tell me, what are your apprehensions and your fears? Your name and the apprehensions that you face.
Myself, Aarti Unecha, and I'm studying in Taras Shevchenko. I have one more year to finish, and it's a hard time we are seeing since the beginning of the war. It's already been 2 years, and we have still one more year to finish. There is always a uncertainty, which we can say, like anytime there will be missile attack. Sometimes it is defended by the defense system, sometimes it's not. So basically that uncertainty is the most dangerous and the most fear, I will say. And rest the thing, life is going on, but we never know when something may happen which should not be happening. But life is very uncertain here, yeah.
Life is very uncertain, and that is the fear, that is the apprehension in the minds of doctors here. When you talk about studying, students look for a tension-free environment, a tension-free atmosphere to study. But since 2022 February, Dr. Saab, tell me your name and tell me how are you dealing with the situation on ground here?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. My name is Dr. Roshan, and I'm a student here, and I have passed my 6 years of MBBS here. Now I will take my degree and I will go back to India. But talking about living here in Ukraine, and especially in the capital Kyiv, we are actually facing a lot of uncertain situation. Like, we fear that something may happen to us. We don't know what time it will happen. It's actually very uncertain. And whenever the siren it rings, then we have to go to shelter. We cannot take any risk. Previously, we were ignoring it, that it happens daily, so we got used to it, and we usually used to ignore that. But after the attack in Okhmadit Hospital, this is the largest super specialty hospital of Kyiv, all over the Ukraine. But seeing this, and after that, we are very cautious about it, and we take precaution. And that's a golden rule, that when we hear the siren, we have to go to the shelter, leaving every important thing, whatever we are doing, either it is classes or either we are eating anything, we just rush to the shelter.
And when Prime Minister Narendra Modi comes here, what are your expectations from the Prime Minister? I believe some medical students want to meet the Prime Minister also.
Yes. When we first heard Prime Minister Modi is coming here, we were really excited. We rushed to our universities to give our names. We want to meet Prime Minister. We want to meet our Prime Minister face to face. Yes. So, and ongoing situation in India as well. So we would like, as Dr. Pulkit, as Dr. Pulkit said about the compensation. Even we are uncertain about our years, 3 years or 2 years or 1 year. Our seniors are.
So what will you tell if you get to meet the Prime Minister, or if you get to access? What will you say?
Okay, I definitely say, please make our lives easier a bit in India. We will give 1 year internship, and I've heard even there is a screening out examination after the internship. We are ready to do that, but I hope they make it easier for us.
The children here, the young doctors here are very excited about meeting the Prime Minister. You were telling me that you are very hopeful that young doctors and students will get to meet the Prime Minister.
Yeah, it's always once like a dream come true to meet the Prime Minister, and it's very hard to get this opportunity in India, because meeting such a great personality is not a joke, and we still don't believe we're gonna meet him. It's always a hope for us being here, because there is always India keeping balance between Russia and Ukraine. Sometimes we get criticized your Prime Minister visited Russia and you support Russia. There are some social pressure that may we students being suffering. Not that level, but it's always there, oh, your Prime Minister been to Russia, so you support Russia. No, that's absolutely not true, because we being under colonization of Britain, we know the importance of independence, and we strongly stand with Ukraine with solidarity. So it's always we have to explain them how it goes, how India is supporting the independence.
When I was here in 2022, the road behind me didn't have much traffic. Of course, students were graduating, but the moment they would graduate, they'd head straight to the battlefield. The situation has changed to a very large extent in 2 years. Now when I return to Kyiv, you see a lot more traffic on the roads. You see a lot more shops that are open, and that shows the resilience of the people here. What they're looking at is more support from the world, and especially from India. We will continue to report from Ground Zero, but that is all I have for you on this special broadcast. Many thanks for watching. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.